So we're about 1 week away from House of Commons resuming, and the parties are making very clear of what their priorities are. The Conservatives have made it very clear that they're going after the temporary foreign worker program, going after crime in the cities, and as well as just trying to maintain and bolster the paychecks of regular Canadians. And Liberals are kind of ignoring those issues. You have the likes of Sean Fraser, our Minister of Justice, saying, it's not the Wild West out here, guys. We need like real changes and real thoughts rather than just slogans and fear, acting as if there's nothing going on. And Carney alluded a little bit to crime here and there, but just it doesn't seem all that serious about it. But what we're seeing right now is people drilling down on what they believe Canadians care about. And right now, the Conservatives seem to really care about what the common person's really thinking. And while Liberals are saying climate change. It is very fascinating. We're about to get into all of it and so much more. Welcome to the Elevate Podcast. I'm your host, Josh. If you get any value from today's episode, take the time to like, share, and subscribe. It helps us to grow, helps us get to new audiences, and helps people see that there's something different than what the mainstream media has to offer. Now, let's get into our first story, shall we? As I was saying, we saw this take place on Sunday over the weekend, where the Conservatives really hit hard last week on the temporary foreign workers program. People got really excited, were really pumped up about it. You have the youth who are like, yes, please, let's end this program. I'd like to get a job, please. And the boomers was like, no, we got to keep it in. I like my cheap labor. So we saw a lot of that happening in terms of at least what the polls were saying. No offense to anyone who's in those groups. I'm just saying that's what the polls are saying. However, David Eby came out and said, yeah, I am 100% on board with us reforming this program or getting rid of it because it's really hurting jobs in our province. And then he had Melanie Joly kind of hop on here with Rosemary Barton to talk about this.
Is under extreme pressure. Obviously, that's what you're dealing with, but climate is also under extreme pressure. And I wonder what the move to review this policy says about the government's commitment to climate change.
Well, the Minister of the Environment, Julie DeBruson, is working on a new climate competitiveness strategy. We believe that it is for us in our interest, not only, of course, to fight climate change, which is obvious, but also to reap the benefits of an industrial strategy linked to being able to be in clean tech. You know, when you look at the companies that are worldwide leaders in clean tech, many of them are Canadians. Actually, we're in the top 100, and we want to build them even more, and that's why our climate policy, particularly our pricing, our industrial carbon pricing, is really, really important to make sure that these companies continue to be competitive. So we'll continue to do that while we want to become an energy superpower. You've heard us saying that. That's why major projects are important, and that's what we'll invest in different types of energies in the context of our C5 major projects.
So you heard it there. So the way this conversation started was about tariffs and was about steel and aluminum, talking about our auto sectors, this, that, the other. And then Rosemary kind of left turn, but what's this really mean? You guys taking off the EV mandate. Does this really mean you care about climate change? And that really kind of put Jolie into this conversation and kind of talking about what she was talking about here. And when you first saw this on Sunday, myself included, I was like, it's a bit of a left turn. Considering what we were just talking about last week, to kind of go off on this tangent about climate seemed really odd because it's just a little bit detached from what people are currently feeling. I was like expecting the Liberals to at least try to counterpunch a little bit to what the Conservatives were doing last week. And I was like, they came back with this? And I was like, whatever. It was just probably Jolie kind of riffing, doing her thing, whatever. I don't know if it was so much as a part of their party strategy going into the fall session here. I kind of left. I was like, whatever. That was weird, but okay, we move on. Well, and then you had Mark Carney do a press conference yesterday, uttering very similar things that Jolie said in that interview.
The rapidly changing global economy is on what we call climate competitiveness. So we see becoming low carbon in any industry as being a key driver of competitiveness. So let's take conventional oil and gas, offshore, and for example, offshore oil and gas, Bay du Nord as an example. That's one of the lowest carbon new oil fields, depending on how you develop it, but that's the intention, one of the lowest carbon conventional oil and gas opportunities, conventional energy, but oil and gas opportunities that this country has. So we look at that as a way of being competitive in conventional energy. At the same time, we look at the immense opportunity in hydro, again with Churchill. That doesn't just unlock $225 billion, and you know your numbers, Premier, $225 billion for Newfoundland and Labrador. It creates enormous clean power that's going to be one of the key factors for manufacturing going forward, for artificial intelligence, data centers going forward. It creates a host of new economic opportunities in Newfoundland and Labrador and Quebec across Canada. So that focus on what can we do in order to drive emissions down in a way that makes the country more competitive is crucial. Last point on it, and I can't stress this enough, our home building strategy, Build Canada Homes, and you'll be hearing more of that in the next few days, that's not just about doubling the number of homes we're building in this country by the end of the decade, or within the next decade. It's about creating a new industry that is lower carbon, that's more efficient, that homes themselves are more energy efficient by more than 20-25%. And all of that will get our emissions down and make us more competitive. So that's the focus of the government. The government is focused on results, making companies, businesses, industries more climate competitive.
So you heard it there. Their priority going into the fall is making our companies more climate competitive. Not being more competitive, but more climate competitive. An industry that's currently falling apart across the globe because it can't replace conventional energy. But he wants to put money in, the Liberals want to put money into making our industries more climate competitive because climate change is the priority of this government as we go into the fall. So Melanie Joly getting on Rosemary Barton on CBC was very calculated. Rosemary probably talked to the Liberal team, says, we want to talk on these points, we want to talk on these issues. And Rosemary gave it up to them. And so what seemed to be kind of an odd moment actually was planned by this Liberal Party. Because Mark Carney hops up and says this, is our focus is decarbonizing our economy, making our companies more climate competitive, and that's how we're going to become more competitive. Anytime you put the term climate in front of anything, you know you're going to lose money, but we know who's going to be making money on this. It's going to make Canadians more poor, but it's going to make companies attached to the suite of Carney companies more wealthy. That's what we are about to currently be seeing. That's why he's so much in favor of the temporary foreign worker program, because he stands up for the big guys. He stands for big companies, big multinational companies who need cheap labor to maximize profits. And this is what I'm talking about as we go into the fall here, is the Conservatives are really hitting on things that matter. Temporary foreign worker program, people not being able to get jobs, people really struggling to find work, especially our youth, is something that really rings true for people. Crime in cities is something that's really ringing true for people right now. And the Liberals are kind of like, yeah, I guess that's happening. But we need to make our industries more climate competitive. My friends, House of Commons is about to be very interesting next week. Some people are so dismayed by the whole process, which I don't blame them for, because things haven't really gone the way you'd like them to go. But I'm seeing a renewed resolve in the Conservative Party. I'm seeing a renewed focus on what they want to attack and what they want to go after. And what I'm seeing is not for the sake of just attacking. It's for the sake of standing up for people to be able to maintain and keep jobs and make money and do well for themselves and their families. But you got big money bucks over here, Mark Carney and the Liberal Party. We're going to make ourselves more climate competitive. The question is asked, who's that really helping? Because the reason why I think this is going to get very interesting is because when you even have NDP Premier David Eby doubling down on reforming or abolishing the temporary foreign worker program in Canada, you've aligned parties against yourself, and it's about to get very interesting. I'll show you David Eby's comments yesterday on this very issue.
But when I see that the Wall Centre Starbucks is getting an LMIA, or trying to, for a manager, or that the Richmond Boston Pizza is trying to get an LMIA for a manager of their restaurant, I don't believe that they can't find a British Columbian on their team to promote to manager. I don't believe it. And so when young people look at this and they see that and they screen cap it and they put it on social media and they say, this program's not working, I'm searching for a job, I can't find it. Why don't you train me to be a manager? It's a corrosive and problematic thing. We need confidence in our immigration system. We need an immigration system that protects workers in this province from exploitation, that ensures that no matter where you're from, that you're safe at work, you're paid a decent wage, and you're looked after. We need an immigration system that ensures that predatory employers are not able to use the temporary foreign worker program to depress wages or to deny opportunities to other workers that would insist on their rights, that have the opportunity to go somewhere else. But most importantly, we need an immigration system that can give hope to people, whether they're new arrivals or not, especially young people. If they can build a good life here, they can have a good home here, they can build a family here, because that's what's built this province over generations, and that is what will continue to build this beautiful province we live in.
That almost sounded word for word something Pierre Poilievre's been saying and talking about. We need to reform, focus our immigration system so that we can prioritize our people here at home. Again, when NDP Premier David Eby is talking about immigration, talking about the temporary foreign worker program, and is aligned with federal conservatives on this, the Liberals are uniting parties against them, making the House of Commons very interesting. And the Liberals making the decision says, we're going to ignore that because Lynn Diabs hasn't been found, who is the immigration minister for the Liberal Party. We still haven't heard from her. We haven't even seen her. I think we still might be able to see her in Nova Scotia. I don't think she's reported back to Ottawa yet. That's where that's at the moment. But their focus is climate competitivity. This, my friends, get ready for the fall. Get ready for the gaslighting. Get ready to be frustrated. But do not give in to your frustration, because they are 100%, from what we're seeing earlier in this week, and more of it, they are going to be hitting climate so very hard to instill fear, drive fear, to maintain and keep power so that their buddies can get rich off of the green grift. And even their buddies in the mainstream media are going to support them and push this message. This is the next thing they're going to be pushing. CTV published this story. Global warning linked to consumption of sugary drinks, ice cream in new research. Expect more headlines like this to appear in the fall. This whole thing was about how when it gets hotter, people get more ice cream, leading to more heart disease. That was the research they did. Saying it's global warming's fault that people are getting more heart disease, or at least insinuating it. But this is where things are at. This is where they're going. Liberals have chosen and made clear they do not care about people. They do not care what people are struggling with. They care about pushing their ideology, pushing ideas forward that are going to get them rich, and that nothing has clearly changed underneath this Liberal Party leadership. But anyways, enjoy your day. Have yourselves a good one. I'm out.